door was thrust open before Dominic could touch the handle, and in through the open door frame 3 figures forced their way into the room. The 2 largest figures placed themselves close to Dominic, one on each side of his body, and Dominic glanced at both individuals in turn. They were both gorillas, smaller in stature than Grant, but nevertheless still larger than himself, and still as imposing as the male adult. The largest and first of the apes stood on his right hand side and wore a simple white t-shirt with a red letter M outlined by a yellow and blue border on the front of the shirt. This ape wore no trousers, and Dominic could make out a light silver tinge spreading down his back towards him, mingling with the black fur which ran over his hind legs. The second ape was smaller in height and size, and Dominic guessed was younger in age due to his physique. This one too wore a simple white t-shirt with red arms adorning the material which stretched over his muscular arms. Dominic could see patches of fur which ran along the animal's arms, that it was shorter than that of Grant, and decided in his own head that if Grant was an eastern gorilla, then these 2 individuals must be from the west coast of Africa. "Who are you?" demanded Dominic, trying best not to show fear in his voice. "Be quiet," snapped a voice from the door. Dominic turned to the third figure and stared into its malevolent eyes. This third figure was smaller than his companions, and indeed stood at the same height as Dominic when on its hind legs. It had a prominent red nose which protruded from the animal's head along a long thin snout, and either side of the appendage ran a series of bony blue flanges which formed an impressive facial display, which was completed by a small yellow tinged beard which covered its chin and ran round its neck, forming a crescent of colour about its collar. Dominic could make out short speckled olive grey fur running across the animal's head and down its back and arms. Unlike the 2 gorillas, this animal wore a buttoned white shirt with a slight frilled floral decoration around the collar. A thin blue tie hung loosely around its chest and fell absently to the floor as the animal settled on all 4s and walked further into the room. It regarded Dominic through small, beady brown eyes and grinned a tooth-filled grin which sent shivers down Dominic's back. With the approach of the monkey, Dominic could see that it had a short, stumpy tail which sat across curvaceous mauve blue rump. As it stood before Dominic, it stood on its hind legs again, rising to Dominic's eyeline, and smiled as him, showing him close quarters its fearsome pointed teeth with 4 large fangs set into his mouth. "So, you're the new boy." It spat its words out as it spoke, regarding Dominic with cruel eyes. Dominic could only muster a slight nod to the creature. "Can't speak?" queried the animal, grinning. The smaller of the gorillas grabbed Dominic's arms, while the other thrust its fingers into its mouth and forced its jaw open, whilst making sounds Dominic could only presume was laughter. "Oh yes, there's your tongue, for now," commented the animal before him. The 2 apes released their grip on Dominic and erupted in a series of hoots, beating their chests and leaping up and down. "What do you want?" coughed Dominic as he backed towards the other room. "What I want is you not to be here," spat the monkey, jabbing his finger harshly against Dominic's chest. "But since that cannot be arranged, what I want is for you to know who is in charge." He stood once again and bared his teeth before Dominic and casually ran his tongue over his front fang. "The name's Blue," said the mandrill, and leaned close to Dominic's face. "Don't forget it." Dominic could feel a hot breath against his cheek as the monkey spoke, and rancid smell of his breath invaded his nostrils. He turned and spoke over his shoulder. "Michigan, Dakota." The two gorillas pressed against the boy and stared between them and grinned.
Good day to you, and welcome to Hazeldean, School of Excellence. Here at Hazeldean, we offer the highest quality of education to your little ones, with teachers specializing in a series of subjects, including communication, geography, physical, and social studies amongst our wide curriculum for your child's academic requirements. You will find our pass rates are excellent, and our disciplinary record is second to none. That is, until Dominic Atwell. Ah, yes, young Mr. Atwell. Now, he was a troubled child. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't naughty, just misunderstood. He had gone from one school to another, getting into trouble at each one before he was finally expelled. Very sad. Then, things changed. He came here where he wasn't the biggest or the strongest or the loudest. He was just Dominic, just another child wanting to learn. And he did, very much so. No. The problem was he was different, and that scares others. You see, unfamiliarity can breed contempt and fear, and some at the school saw Dominic as an outcast. This is what brought Mr. Atwell to the attention of Blue and his friends, the brothers Dakota and Michigan. They saw him as different, and he didn't like it. What? No. I beg your pardon. Perhaps I should have explained earlier. You see, Hazeldean is no ordinary school. Hazeldean is a school for apes.